Inner Sanctum was a very popular horror anthology that first aired on NBC in 1941, but later moved to CBS. Hosted by Raymond Johnson, the show featured stories of unimaginable thrills, horror, and mystery. Unlike other horror-based series during that time, the show had a tongue-in-cheek, playful style which made America laugh just before they screamed, until 1952. The masters of the creaking door were able to produce a total of 526 spine-chilling episodes for our amusement. Radio Gold is proud to present the Inner Sanctum Mysteries.
Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup presents Inner Sanctum Mysteries. Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host, welcoming you in through the squeaking door. Come in, see my latest collection of corpses. I've dug up some very interesting pieces, but of course I had to pay a stiff price. This petrified man, for instance, he's over 100 years old. They found him in a forest. That's right, aged in the woods.
My goodness, do you expect folks to believe nonsense like that?
Oh, but it's true, Mary. Look over here at this artist model. The last time she posed for a sketch, she was drawn and quartered. The artist wanted to paint her with her head in her hands, but he didn't have the nerve to axe her. So he sawed her in half.
What an imagination you have.
You don't believe me. All right. I'm not going to show you my corpse collection anymore. This is the last time.
Well, I don't believe that either. But talking of last times, folks, this is the last time on Inner Sanctum that the Lipton people are offering to send the ladies that special sterling silver medallion. Yes, ladies, this is your last chance to own a really lovely piece of jewelry without spending a lot of money for it. Now, let me describe the medallion to you. It's made of solid sterling silver. It's about 1 inch in diameter. Yes, and it's decorated with the Chinese symbol for good luck. You can wear the medallion as a necklace or a choker. You see, it's hung on a narrow black rayon satin ribbon. Or if you wish, you can simply add it to your charm bracelet. And here's how you get this handsome medallion. Listen, just send 25 cents and the box top from a package of Lipton's, the tea with the brisk flavor, to Lipton Tea, Box 92. That's Box 92, New York City.
All right, friends. Better write that address down on a dry piece of paper. Why do I say dry? Because everything will be wet by the time we're through here. Wet with gore. Tonight's story is called Dead Man's Debt. It's an original radio play by Robert Newman. And our star tonight is Joseph Julian, who plays the role of Danny. The corner cell in the courthouse jail. Stone walls, stone floor, and a hard cot. Lying on the cot, huddled under the blanket, is Danny Gorman. His eyes are closed and his breathing is regular. But even he is not sure whether he's asleep or awake. For he's listening to a voice he's heard quite often during the past few weeks. And a voice he shouldn't be able to hear. A voice of a dead man.
Are you sleeping, Danny? Don't. It's a waste of time. A real waste.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be sleeping for a long, long time, very soon. When you're dead like I am.
No.
Yes,
No.
Danny. Did you think you were going to get away with it? You won't. You'll pay. And soon.
No, I said no. Shut up, will you? Oh.
What's the trouble in here? What are you making all that racket for?
What?
Better pull yourself together and get moving. Waiting for you downstairs, court's in session.
All right, don't rush me. I'm coming.
I'm not rushing you. Sure glad to be rid of you. Glad you won't be coming back here again.
What? What do you mean?
They'll wind up your case this morning. Hand down a verdict before lunch. 2 to 1, they do it without leaving the jury box. And 10 to 1, it's guilty.
Gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
We have?
Prisoner will rise and face the jury.
Go on, Danny. Stand up.
What is your verdict?
Not guilty.
Right? You mean? What a riot. I should have taken him up on it. Then no one he wanted to give me that you were going to send me up. But I knew it. I knew you would.
Order, Mr. Russell. Will you quiet your client?
I apologize, Your Honor, but as you can imagine, he's been under considerable strain. Take it easy, Danny.
Danny. Oh, Danny.
Oh, Gail, hiya, baby.
I knew it too, Danny. I knew they'd let you go. They had to.
Hope you don't mind coming here to celebrate. It's not very fancy, but, well, this is where they picked me up, put the cuffs on me. I'm kind of sentimental about
That's
it.
perfectly all right.
Here's to you, Russell. You did a swell job getting me off.
Well, thank you. I had probably done better if I didn't have a conscience.
How come?
I was assigned to your case. I had to defend you. And I did the best job I could. But it was a little hard to put my heart in it when I knew you were guilty. Not of the murder you were charged with, but another one.
What?
If that's supposed to be funny, Mr. Russell.
It's not, Gail. Danny was charged with the murder of Carson, a well-known jeweler, whose body was found a few miles from his country house. Danny was seen in the vicinity in the company of Stack Allen, a man with a long criminal record. Now, if you remember, there were just three things that saved Danny. One, the fact that Carson was thought to have a valuable diamond on him. Danny didn't have the diamond, and it hasn't been found yet. Two, Carson was shot with a .45. Danny's gun was a .38. And three, Stack Allen has disappeared. Now, on the basis of these three facts, I was able to convince the jury that it was Stack who killed Carson and took the diamond. And, as a matter of fact, that's what I think did happen.
Well?
The DA made one mistake. He charged you with a wrong murder. I don't believe you killed Carson. But I do think you killed Stack Allen.
That's ridiculous. Danny, tell him it's not true. Tell him.
Shut up. What are you going to do about it?
Nothing. I'm not a policeman. I'm an attorney.
You're lying.
No. You see, basically, I have great respect for the law. I believe that even though it sometimes makes mistakes, it generally corrects them. I think it'll catch up with you. In the meantime, well, there's the matter of my services. Since I saved your life, I figure you owe me a good deal.
Don't worry about that. I'll pay you.
Yes? How?
Never mind that. I said I'd pay you.
You don't have the money now. I know that. If you wanted me to, I could probably help you.
I don't want any help from you or anyone else. I said I'd pay you, and I will. Come on, Gail. Let's get out of here.
Are you sleeping again, Danny? That's a mistake. A waste of time. You'll be sleeping for a long, long time when you're dead like I am.
No, Stack, no, leave me alone.
I can't, Danny. Not until you pay for what you did to me. And you will pay for that. And soon.
Huh? Who's that? Who's there?
It's me, Danny. Gail.
Oh. Okay, just a second.
Hello, Danny.
Hi.
Starting to get a little worried about you. You all right?
Sure, I'm all right. What is there to worry about?
Well, it's been a week since I saw you. I've been hearing things. That you were hanging around with the old gang again. With Frankie.
So what?
You mean it's true? Danny, you shouldn't. You know what almost happened what would have happened if it hadn't been for Mr. Russell.
Russell.
You wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for him. Danny, you said you were going straight, and instead, he wanted to help you, remember?
How are you, Danny?
Russell, what are you doing here? Look, if you're worried about your dough, I told you I'd pay you.
I never said anything about money, Danny. And I'm not worried about being paid. I'm a firm believer in balancing accounts. We pay for everything we do.
What are you driving at?
You killed Stack Allen for the diamond you took from Carson. But you never got the diamond. Suppose I help you find it.
What? How do you know where it is?
I don't know. I'm only guessing. But if you show me where you buried Stack's body, I think maybe we can find it together.
You're just trying to trap me. Tag me with Stack's murder.
I told you I was an attorney, not a policeman.
Okay. Okay, I'll take a chance on it. Get your car, I'll show you. Go easy now. Turn off there to the left.
Into the woods?
Yeah. Just a little further. All right, go slow. Okay, now stop.
I think you'd better stay here, Gail. It's not going to be very pleasant.
No, it's all right. I'll come.
Just as you like. Now, tell me again just how it happened, Danny.
Well, we drove down here after we knocked Carson off to decide just what we're going to do. I had a feeling Stack was going to plug me so he wouldn't have to split with me, and I decided to beat him to it. He went over there. He sat down on that log, and he was playing with his ear the way he used to, pulling on it. I let him have it. I searched him, but I couldn't find the diamond.
What did you do with the body?
I dug a deep hole right there. I dumped him in it, and I piled wood on it, and then built a fire. And after it burned down, I covered it up.
Okay. Let's get the shovels out of the car and start digging.
Hey, my shovel hit something. I think it's him.
Gail, will you go back to the car?
No, I'm going to stay. I just won't look.
There. There he is. At least his bones.
Put your shovel under his skull and lift it carefully.
Hey, the diamond. The diamond's lying right underneath him. How did you know?
I didn't. I told you I was guessing. You saw him take it from Carson, knew he had it with him, but you couldn't find it when you searched him. You mentioned that when he was thinking, he had a way of playing with his ear.
His ear, of course. That was it. He hid it in his ear. Maybe he figured I was going to stick him up with something. Maybe. Anyway, I got it now. We're rich, you hear, Gail? We're rich.
Yes, I hear.
What are you looking at me for that way?
Danny, I loved you for a long time. Even when I knew there were things wrong with you. I stuck with you through the trial because I thought you were innocent. That you hadn't killed Carson. Now I hate you.
I stood trial. I got off, didn't I? I paid for the diamond. And now it's mine.
Yes, Danny, it's yours. But you haven't paid for it. You're only going to start paying for it.
There's our friend Mr. Bones again. You know, I don't mind his talking from the grave, but I wish he'd stop heckling Danny and not sound so much like a bill collector. After all, he didn't do so badly. He not only got buried, he got cremated, too.
Yes, he paid the penalty for his crime.
Yeah. But what right has he got to be so moral after he's dead? And so vain, too. Wearing a diamond in his ear. Next thing you know, we'll see a skeleton walking around wearing a Lipton sterling silver medallion.
That will never happen, I assure you.
Is that so? Well, let me tell you about a skeleton who could fly.
Now, stop. That's enough. You let me tell you about a real flyer, an American pilot, whose life was saved by the original of that sterling silver medallion that the Lipton people are offering to the ladies. Now, listen, folks, because this is a true story. It seems that a year or so ago, an American flyer had to bail out over enemy territory. Fortunately, he was rescued by Chinese guerrillas, and they gave him a medallion with Chinese letters on it. They said that this medallion would bring him safely through the lines. Well, he did get through, and only then did he learn that the letters meant good luck in Chinese. Now, there's a story to tell your friends when they're admiring your sterling silver medallion on its narrow black rayon satin ribbon. And to get this Chinese good luck charm, just like the one the flyer carried, all you have to do is send 25 cents and the box top from a package of Lipton's, the tea with the brisk flavor, to Lipton Tea, Box 92. That's Box 92, New York City.
And now, friends, back to the story of Danny Gorman, who was tried for the wrong murder and who's found, so far at least, that crime does pay, and very nicely, too. It's about an hour later now, and a car with 3 very silent people in it has just reached the outskirts of the town.
What's the matter with you two, anyway? What are you sitting there like a pair of mummies for? Why don't you say something?
I said everything I had to there in the woods, Danny.
I've got nothing to say.
No, nothing at all. Don't try and pull a lily act now, Russell. Don't forget, you're in this as deep as... Hey, wait a minute. Stop right here. Yeah, that's right, in front of that hock shop.
Where are you going?
Inside to see a friend. Might just as well get the dough to pay you off right now. And I won't have to listen to any more of your double talk. Hello, Finney.
Well, Danny. Haven't seen you in a long time. And I didn't think I'd ever be seeing you again.
How come?
Yeah, I thought that anybody who'd just beaten a murder rap would have sense enough to keep in the clear. Not get mixed up with anything hot. Or is this a social visit?
Not exactly. Take a look at this.
It's a very nice diamond. Very nice indeed.
What's it worth?
Well, you really want to know what it's worth? You want to know what I'll give you for it?
What's the difference?
A great deal. It's worth, let me take another look at it. Yes, it's worth $10,000, maybe $12,000. I'll give you $2,000 for it.
What? Why, you old... What's the idea?
It's very simple, Danny. You were tried for Carson's murder, and you got off because you had a good lawyer and because there wasn't enough evidence. But if you were tried again, right now, you wouldn't do so well. Because this is the very best kind of evidence right here. You see, I happen to know that this is Carson's diamond.
Yeah?
Yes, Danny. That means that you wouldn't dare take it to anybody else. It wouldn't be wise for you even to take it out of this shop. And that's why it's very generous of me to offer you $1,500 for it.
$1,500? But you just said... Okay, Finney. Take the diamond, give me the dough.
That's very sensible of you, Danny. Come back tomorrow about the same time.
Nothing doing. I'm taking a powder out of town. I want the dough right now.
All right, Danny. Wait out there, and I'll get it for you. $7, 21, 4, and there we are. Let's see. No.
Sorry, it had to be a knife, Finney.
Danny, you... Damn.
Couldn't take a chance with a gun, not with my friends outside. Shouldn't have driven such a hard bargain. Because now I'm not only going to take the diamond back, I'm going to take every cent you got in the safe. After all, it won't do you any good anymore.
All right.
Yeah, let's get going.
You seem quite pleased with yourself.
Why shouldn't I be? Get rid of the diamond, and I finally got my hands on some real dough. I can pay you off now. What do I owe you?
I told you, Danny. A great deal. Your life.
Okay, don't build it up. What do you want in cash?
I never said anything about money, Danny. There is something I want. When the right time comes, I think I'll get it.
Yeah? Who is it?
Me, Danny. Frankie.
Oh, just a second. Hiya, Frankie.
Fine. A little worried about how you were.
Me? How come?
That little job last night. Said you wanted to get in on it, then you never showed up. Thought maybe you were sick or something.
Oh, that, No. It was just that, well, I changed my mind.
Yeah?
Yeah, I kind of thought it over. I decided, I better stay in the clear. Let's go straight from now on.
That's smart, Danny. Real smart.
Yeah, I think so. How'd it go?
Smooth as silk. We ended up with stuff Well, 3 or 4 G's anyway.
Yeah, swell.
Yeah. It's only after it was all over that we ran into something kind of funny.
What was that?
Well, the stuff was kind of hot, and we thought we ought to unload right away, so we went down to Finney's. You know, the fence.
Yeah.
We got there, it didn't seem like there was anyone around. I took a gander in the back room, and you won't believe this, but the safe was open. Cleaned out. There was Finney, dead.
What? Well, you have any idea who did it?
I don't know. He'd been knifed. Whoever got him left in such a hurry they forgot to take the knife with them. I got it right here.
Well, let's see it.
No, don't touch it, Danny. You might get your fingerprints on it, and that'd be bad. I said don't touch it. I'll try any monkey tricks or I'll blast you for keeps. So you were going straight, eh? You mealy-mouthed double-crosser. Where's the diamond?
What are you talking about?
Don't give me that. You think I know your knife when I see it? There's only one reason you'd go to see Finney. To cash in on that diamond you and Stack took from Carson. Well, I want it.
Okay. Okay, Frankie, you can have it. I've been having nothing but tough luck ever since I first laid eyes on it. It's over there in my bureau, hidden under my socks. I'll get it for you.
You're starting to show some sense.
Yeah, I think so. More sense than to let you leave here knowing what you know. Now, get my friend the lawyer down here. Everything will be hunky-dory. Oh, you sure got down here fast, Russell. Hey, what's the idea?
Bringing Gail with me? I thought she might be interested in anything you might have to say to me. You said something about another case?
Yeah. Look over there, in the corner.
Oh.
Frankie. Frankie Ring. And he's dead.
You killed him?
Yeah. It was self-defense. So he came down here to get me to go out on a job with him. I told him I wouldn't, that I was going straight, and he pulled a gun. There it is in his hand. See? I got my own rod from the bureau, and, well, that was that. Sound okay?
Fine.
You know, it ain't going to be easy, I know. Me coming up for a second murder rap. But you can get me off. I got plenty of dough this time. I can really pay. The thing is, what do we do first?
We don't do anything, Danny. There are a lot of things you can do. But my suggestion is that you call the police. Give yourself up.
What? You mean you're not going to take this case?
No, Danny.
Why not? You fronted for me the last time.
Yes, Danny, and I told you why. I was assigned the case, couldn't turn it down. Besides, you were being tried for the wrong murder. But this time it won't be the wrong murder. It'll be the right one. This is the one I said was finally going to catch up with you.
I see. Is your car downstairs by any chance?
Yes, why?
I'm starting to feel a little restless. Let's go places. Go ahead, march.
Danny, what are you going to do?
Are you kidding? You know about Stack and about Freddie. Somehow I don't think I'd sleep so good knowing that you knew. Besides that, there's one more you don't know about, Finney. I got him yesterday while you were waiting in the car. After your first 3, they started to come easy, even dames. We're going to take a little ride together. But I got a feeling we're not all of us coming back. Keep driving till I tell you to stop.
Right.
You're taking this awful quiet, the two of you. Maybe you don't think I'm going to go through with it.
Oh, I think you intend to, all right. Whether you will or not is another story. So is the reason I'm taking it this way. Maybe this is as good a time as any to tell you a few things. Why I took your case in the first place.
Well?
It was because of Carson. He was my father's best friend. Kind of a second father. It was he who put me through law school. When he was murdered, I made up my mind to get to the bottom of it, find out who killed him. I didn't think it was you, and it wasn't. that you were involved. And I knew that if I helped you get what the murder was committed for, the diamond, eventually you'd pay for the murder you committed. Well, now you've got not one, but 3 murders to pay for.
What are you stopping for?
Railroad crossing. There's a train coming. Can't you hear the bell?
Told you to keep going till I said for you to stop.
Okay. Hey, what's the idea? You stalled the car.
Yeah. To make sure it stays stalled, I'll just take these keys.
Danny, we're right on the track.
Yeah. This is it. You fell in love, see? You ran away together, smacked into the train. Now, don't try the doors. They're locked. I'll just wait over here and make sure everything goes the way it should.
Well, Gail.
Somehow I'm not frightened. And I don't care.
Hey, my foot! My foot! It's caught in the train! Hey, it's not coming down your track. It's coming down this one! Hey, Russell! Gail, help me! Help!
Oh, Danny.
Yes. He was on the wrong track. Then he'd been on the wrong track for a long time.
John, what was it you said before about why you took the case? Was it true?
Yes.
But you always talked about payment, about something you wanted.
I wanted justice. And I also wanted something else. Someone Danny had at first and then lost. Someone he didn't deserve.
John.
Yes, Just. That's right. You.
Say, what is this anyway? Inner Sanctum or Love's Old Sweet Song? You'd better get yourself another tune, Professor. Or I'd better get myself another program to haunt. That's right. One more sappy ending like that, and they can get themselves another host.
Why, what was the matter with that ending? I thought it was the nicest one we've had this year. I thought it was sweet the way those two people discovered they loved each other.
Listen, Mary, there's only one kind of sweet stuff that goes on this program, and that's sweet essence of cyanide.
Oh, good gracious, this is the last show of the season. Can't you be human just this once?
All right, Mary, I'll tell you what I'll do. When Gail and that lawyer get married, I'll send her a Lipton sterling silver medallion for a wedding present.
Well, they'll have to get married real soon then, because this is the last time on Inner Sanctum that the Lipton people are offering to send that special medallion. Yes, ladies, this is your last chance to get a solid sterling silver medallion hung on a narrow black rayon satin ribbon. A lovely piece of jewelry to wear with your simple silk dresses and with your dressy suits as well. So you'd better send for your medallion tonight. Just send 25 cents and the box top from a package of Liptons, the tea with the brisk flavor, to Lipton Tea, Box 92, New York City.
And now, a word of advice, friends. Don't let tonight's story, all this business about dead men's debts, prey on your mind too much. If you should wake up at about 2 in the morning and hear strange footsteps coming up the stairs toward your room, don't worry. It won't be a homicidal maniac. It will probably be the ghost of a bill collector coming to collect IOU. By the way, this month's Inner Sanctum mystery novel is Lay That Pistol Down by Richard Powell. Well, now it's time to close up shop until the end of August. Much too hot to go around murdering people. And down at the morgue, everybody's planning to stay on ice for the summer. So we'll be back to haunt you on Tuesday, August 28th, with more Inner Sanctum stories directed by Hyman Brown. Better have that date tattooed on your chest. Tuesday, August 28th. Until then, remember to serve Lipton, the tea with a brisk flavor, iced as your summertime beverage. And be sure to serve Lipton's noodle soup as the one hot dish with a cold meal. And now it's time to close the squeaking door. So, good night. Pleasant dreams.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Let's take a short intermission. The Best of Dimension X from Radio Gold. Dimension X was the first sci-fi anthology series to utilize published stories from established science fiction authors, which gave the series an instant status of credibility to hardcore fans. In a few seconds, we'll return with another exciting episode of the Inner Sanctum. Stay tuned.
Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup present Inner Sanctum Mysteries. Come on in, friends. Into the Inner Sanctum. This is really a lovely place. Oh, kind of dark and cobwebby. But then the maid hasn't been around for some time. No, she was playing the numbers. Then her number came up. Why, through these portals pass some of the nicest people in the world. True, they're rather boring, but after all, they are deadheads. And I'll take a good old redhead deadhead any time.
Why, Mr. Host, are you finally admitting that you like the ladies?
Well, of course, Mary. Don't you know some of my favorite ghosts are girls? But I do wish they weren't so vain. Why, I know one who has pleats in her shroud. Not only in the front, but in the back, too. Yes, just in case she should turn over in her grave.
Oh, dear. There you go talking nonsense again. I like talk that makes sense. Good common sense, like the things the tea experts say about Lipton tea. For instance, they say that Lipton's has a brisk flavor. And that's the truth, because Lipton's does taste fresh and tangy and full-bodied, never wishy-washy. And then the experts say that brisk flavor makes all the difference in the world when you're sitting down to a cup of tea. And, folks, that's absolutely right. That brisk flavor is the reason why Lipton's is such a comfort, why it actually makes good food taste better. Yes, folks, you just don't know how good tea can be till you've tried Lipton's. So buy a package of Lipton's and taste what you've been missing all this time.
And talking of time, friends, may I take a few years off your life? All right. Get ready to hear a gory little story entitled Boomerang. It's an original radio play written by a couple of Australian bushmen named Michael Sklar and Richard Manoff, and stars Martin Gable in the role of John Keeler. So, hitch up your chair, switch off the lights, and look out.
Help me. No one heard me. No one came. I lay there watching the blood ooze from the wound. My chest was on fire. The flesh where the bullet had ended was torn, shredded. And in my back there was a kind of numbness. I screamed, "Ah! Help! Help!" But no one answered. I was utterly alone, helpless, watching my life dripping drop by drop to the floor. Then the blackness closed in. When I regained consciousness, 2 uniformed patrolmen were bending over me, looking frightened and puzzled.
Suicide, Riley?
Either that or murder. Their voices seemed to come echoing over an aching void. I wanted to tell them how it had happened. I wanted to tell them about Bill Sloan and Helen and the airplane. I was frantic. I had to tell them.
He's trying to say something, Riley.
Poor guy. He can't talk. He's too far gone.
I couldn't talk. I'd lost too much blood. My tongue was thick like cotton.
My lips moved, but that was all. It was all shut up inside me. They would never know how it had happened.
Riley, it looks to me like murder.
Murder, yes, it was murder. And if only I could have spoken, I would have told them. About my nervous breakdown. About the sanitarium. That's where it began, back there in that plushy prison. I was locked up behind that big wall. And my wife and my partner, they had the chance to discover each other. And then when I came out, the doctor said I was cured. Their false solicitude. And all the while, suspicion was building up inside me. I was already suspicious that day. I caught them by surprise. I'd come directly home from my regular visit to the psychiatrist instead of returning to the office. Bill was there in the living room with Helen, my partner and my wife, laughing together. I closed the front door silently. The rugs muffled my footsteps. I entered the room suddenly, wanting to see their faces when they saw me.
Oh, what, darling?
Hello, Helen.
Why, John, how did you happen to come home in mid-afternoon? Why aren't you at the office?
I was thinking of asking you that question. Bill made some flimsy excuse, but I caught the look of guilt on his face. He was a bachelor, smooth with words, successful with women. And I was beginning to believe he had succeeded with my wife. Oh, I had evidence. There was the time a few nights later. Helen and I were going up to bed. As we passed the umbrella stand at the foot of the stairs, I noticed something. Helen, just a moment. This umbrella, it's Bill's.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is. What's it doing here?
Well, he must have forgotten it when he was over the other day. Take it down to the office in the morning, will you, darling?
I made no reply. We continued up the stairs and went to bed. I waited until Helen was asleep, then crept out of bed and down the stairs. There was the umbrella. I reached out my hand, afraid to touch it, but I had to. The umbrella was still wet. It had rained that afternoon. I said nothing about it the next morning. Oh, I was suspicious enough. But I told myself I had to be absolutely sure. And then, that next night, it happened. Helen went out after dinner saying she had an appointment with her hairdresser. As the door closed behind her, I picked up the phone and dialed the number.
Hello? Crescent Beauty Salon?
Alberta, this is Mr. John Keeler. I'm calling for my wife to verify her appointment for this evening.
Mrs. Keeler? But, monsieur, she has no appointment for this evening.
Now, I was sure. Bill and Helen were together. I struggled to control my emotions. My head was whirling. I felt ill, weak. My heart was pounding in my chest. The room began to spin. First the floor lamp, then the chairs, finally the table, whirling around my head. I needed air. I forced myself out of my seat, stumbled across the floor to the window, and threw it open. The stars, too, were spinning, chasing each other in a mad race across the sky. I sucked the fresh air into my lungs, and slowly the stars resumed their normal positions. I drew my head back into the room, and then it struck me across the nostrils. Gas. The room was full of gas. Yes, I found one gas jet open in the kitchen stove. I fought against the logical conclusion, struggled against it all that night and into the next day. But I could no longer stand it by mid-afternoon. That open gas jet last night had been no accident. They were planning to have me put out of the way. Well, two could play at that game. I also could commit murder. I worked out a plan. First, the business trip to Buffalo that I'd been putting off for weeks. I could use that as my alibi. I called my secretary.
Yes, Mr. Keeler.
Miss Jackson, I've decided to go up to Buffalo tomorrow. Could you get me a drawing room on the 5 o'clock train?
I'll call the railroad station right now, Mr. Keeler.
A few minutes later, she called me back. I had the train reservation. So far, so good. I went to the bank, and from the bank to the airline terminal.
What can I do for you, sir?
I want a seat on the Rochester plane. The plane that leaves New York at 9:30 tomorrow night.
9:30. What is the name, sir?
Dunham. Roger Dunham.
Well, you're a lucky man, Mr. Dunham. It's the last seat on the plane.
Roger Dunham. That assumed name would prove my alibi. The details of my scheme were falling into place. I went home, and at dinner told Helen I was leaving for Buffalo tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Must you go tomorrow, John? Can't it wait?
I've been putting this trip off too long already. I'll leave straight from the office and come home the next afternoon.
Well, you're being a little inconsiderate. I'll be all alone here overnight.
Oh, come, Helen. You're not afraid of anything, are you?
Afraid? No, but
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll ask Bill to come over and keep you company tomorrow night. How'll that be?
Why, that'll be fine.
Another cog in place. Another gear meshed. Now one last piece to move and the engine of my revenge would be complete. Yes, it was revenge now. Revenge for what those two had done to me.
Buffalo, eh? It's a good idea, John. The way your trip could combine business with pleasure.
Pleasure?
You've been rather tense lately. The change of the scene will do you worlds of good.
I'm sure it will. How about Helen? Can you make it tonight?
Tonight? Yes. I'll be over after dinner.
That day passed like a dream. With me, the sleepwalker in the center, going through all the motions correctly, but waiting for the evening. For I wasn't hunted now. Now I was the hunter. A little past 4 o'clock that afternoon, I left the office and took a cab to the station. I went directly to my drawing room, and as the train pulled out, I called for the porter.
At midnight, sir?
Just a glass of milk, porter, warm milk. And don't bring it before midnight. Till then, I've got a lot of work to do, and I don't want to be disturbed.
Just as you see, sir.
I gave the porter an unnecessarily large tip to make sure he'd remember me. Now, when the train stopped to change engines at Harmon an hour later, it was raining, thunderstorm. I pulled my hat down over my eyes, raised my coat collar around my face, and became just another shadowy figure hurrying to get out of the rain. I crossed the platform unnoticed, and 10 minutes later I was on a train going southbound, returning to New York. I picked up my car at the parking lot and drove out to my house on the cliff. Parking on a side road, I climbed up the hill on foot. By now the rain was coming down in sheets. Lightning split the sky and thunder crashed around me. I could see the light from my house perched at the edge of the cliff. Now, Bill's car was parked on the driveway, pointed downhill. Light came from the living room. I crept through the shrubbery to a window. There they were, Bill and Helen. My partner and my wife, sitting side by side on the divan. He drinking my whiskey, comfortable and warm, while I, the unwanted, was standing outside in the storm. How I hated him at that moment. I went back to Bill's car, crept beneath it, and went to work. The sound of the storm covered the noise of my tools as I disconnected the brakes. And I was finished. And none too soon, for suddenly the front door opened, and Bill stood framed in the light of the doorway with Helen behind him.
It's a bad night for it, but we'll never get another chance like this one, Helen.
Well, all right, but come back quickly, Bill. I'm nervous.
Oh, nothing to be nervous about. John is halfway to Buffalo by now. A perfect opportunity to go over our plans with Bates.
All right, go ahead then. But hurry.
I'll have Bates back here in a jiffy.
Bates. He was going to fetch Bates, undoubtedly a hired killer. I laughed inwardly as the car got started. I could see Helen watching it as it picked up speed on the steep downgrades. Something was wrong now, and she knew it.
Bill, not the car!
Too late. The car was roaring downhill out of control, charging toward the lip of the cliff. There was a crash and smash through the
guardrail. Oh, poor Bill. I always say, protect me from my friends, and I'll take care of my enemies. Such a nice guy, too. Who would have thought he'd go falling for a cliff? But there you are. There's no accounting for tastes.
There's no accounting for the people in this story, that's what. Such terrible people.
Oh, Mary, wait till you meet Bates. He's a boy. He's really going to make our characters dance. Yeah, he's going to put them in the groove. Or do I mean grave?
You don't know what you mean. And it seems to me, Mr. Host, that life is complicated enough without your making it more so. Well, look at what I had to do yesterday. Clean the house, do the Monday wash, and cook 3 meals in the bargain. Yes, and you'd be surprised at the big help I got from Lipton tea. You see, when I had a moment to relax, I'd make myself a cup of Lipton's. Such an easy thing to do, and it did me a world of good. That brisk flavor makes Lipton such a cheering, satisfying drink. It really perks you up. It's never wishy-washy. Of course, I know that lots of folks serve Lipton tea at mealtimes and serve it to their guests, too. But, friends, you really should try helping yourself through the day with a good hot cup of brisk-flavored Lipton tea. Yes, treat yourself to Lipton's when you've got a moment to relax.
Well, don't relax yet. First, let's go back to that tiff on the cliff where John Keeler has just killed his business partner. I'm just itching to know what's going to happen to his wife. She's standing by the shattered fence, peering down the side of the cliff into the darkness. And John, he's creeping up behind her. Look out, Helen.
He's dead, Helen.
Oh!
It's a sheer drop of 400 feet to the bottom.
John, I thought... John, you said you were going to Buffalo.
I am going to Buffalo, Helen, after I finish my business here.
Well, Bill, the car
It was
just...
a pity about the brakes. They must have come disconnected.
Disconnected?
Accidents will happen, Helen.
John, you killed him.
You and Bill thought you had pulled the wool over my eyes. Well, I fooled you.
Stay away from me.
I'm going to throw you over the cliff. I'm going to send you to join your lover.
You can't do this.
Tomorrow they'll find your bodies. They'll think you were thrown clear of the car when it crashed. They'll call it an unfortunate accident.
No, please,
Careful, Helen,
John.
you're at the edge. There's nothing behind you.
John, don't touch me, John!
Goodbye, Helen. If I had any feeling at that moment, it was a feeling of satisfaction. I, the failure, had committed the perfect crime. My scheme was flawless. I walked down the hill to my car, changed my clothes, and drove to the airport. As Roger Dunham, I boarded the plane for Rochester at 9:30 that night. Just as I'd planned it, we arrived at that city well ahead of my train. I was waiting when the long line of sleeping cars pulled in at the Rochester station platform. I boarded the train. My drawing room was just as I had left it at Harmon. I sank down in a seat, removed my coat and shoes. I looked at my watch. It was midnight. Come in.
Beg pardon, sir. It's midnight, sir.
Oh, midnight? Really? Oh, thanks for bringing the milk.
It's lukewarm, sir, just like you asked for it.
Thank you, Porter. In Buffalo, I went to my usual hotel, checked in, went to sleep. Oddly enough, I slept well that night. A deep, dreamless sleep. In fact, I overslept. For when I wakened, it was broad daylight and the phone was ringing. I struggled out of bed, lifted the receiver. Hello.
This is the long-distance operator. I have a New York City call for Mr. John Keeler.
This is Mr. Keeler speaking.
One moment, please. Here's your party. Mr. Keeler?
Yes?
This is Miss Jackson. I've just arrived at the office. Mr. Keeler, I don't know how to tell you. The police.
What about the police?
They're here in the office. They want you to return at once.
Miss Keeler, what's going on there?
Mr. Sloan and your wife. Both of them are dead, Mr. Keeler.
Dead?
Mr. Sloan's car went off the cliff near your house last night. The accident was discovered this morning.
Accident? You say it was an accident?
It must have been an accident, Mr. Keeler.
She thought it was an accident. Now, if only the police thought likewise. I told my secretary I'd take the first plane back to the city, and I hung up. A few hours later, I reached New York, hurried to my office.
There's a detective waiting in your office, Mr. Keeler.
A detective?
He said he had to see you.
A detective. This was the test. I pulled myself together and opened the door to my office.
Mr. Keeler?
Yes. I understand you're from police headquarters.
Jerome is the name, sir. Assistant Inspector.
How do you do, sir?
We won't take up much of your time, Mr. Keeler. It's an open and shut case.
How do you mean that?
Well, stormy night, slippery road, bad brakes. Obviously an accident. I'm very sorry.
I nodded at the detective, and all the while I was laughing inwardly. He sat there, the very symbol of the law, and offered me official sympathy. No question of clues, nothing overlooked, nothing to fear. Not now. I, the weakling, had committed the perfect crime. Yes, Miss Jackson?
Mr. Keeler, there's a man out here to see you.
Send him away.
He won't go. He says you don't know him, but it's extremely important.
What's his name?
His name is Bates, Mr. Keeler. William Bates.
Bates. The hired killer. I told my secretary I'd see him. I went into the outer office. Bates was sitting on one of the chairs with an open briefcase on his lap. He was a big man, tough-looking.
I read the news in the morning paper, Mr. Keeler. Too bad. That was a tough break.
Yes. Yes, was.
I didn't know if I should go after you now, but... after all, I'm a businessman. My time is money.
I'm sure it is, but why tell me about it? You certainly don't expect me to pay you.
Why not? They're your plans.
My plans?
Well, look at them. Here they are. Why, they've even got your name on them.
I didn't know whether I could trust my ears. Whether I could believe my vision. Bates drew a roll of architectural drawings out of his briefcase and shoved them at me.
Look at them. There it is in your partner's handwriting. Plans for the new Keeler house.
Who are you?
I told you. My name is Bates. I'm a building contractor. Your partner and your wife insisted that the whole job had to be done in secret.
In secret?
They said something about you having just come out of a sanitarium. They wanted the whole thing to be a big surprise.
My mind was reeling. The secret meetings that led me to suspect Bill and Helen. Those meetings were to go over the plans for a house. My house and Helen's. I had killed my best friend and my wife. Inspector Jerome, I want to confess. I killed them. I killed them.
Killed them? Killed who?
Don't look at me like that. You know who I'm talking about. My partner and my wife. I killed them last night. Now I'm ready to take my punishment.
Now, calm down, Mr. Keeler. You've had a hard time. We realize this thing has been a great shock.
What are you talking about?
The homicide squad doesn't jump to hasty conclusions, Mr. Keeler. We've made a thorough checkup on your background.
What's my background got to do with it?
Well, we know you spent 3 months in a sanatorium recuperating from a nervous collapse. Now, on top of that, this unfortunate accident.
It wasn't an accident. I killed them.
We checked every movement you made since you left the office yesterday.
Then you must know.
We know you took the 5 o'clock train to Buffalo. The porter on your Pullman had no trouble recalling you. Why, he even told us how he brought you a glass of milk at midnight. You were a good 200 miles away from New York when the accident happened.
The detective went away, shaking his head. Sympathetically. My mind was in a turmoil. I had committed the perfect crime, and it had boomeranged. I went home. The house on the cliff was empty. Everywhere I looked, I saw Helen. Her photograph on my desk. Her red-tipped cigarette still in the ashtrays. 2 half-empty cocktail glasses side by side on the living room table. There was desolation in the house. Emptiness. Loneliness. And it would be like this for the rest of my life. But there was one way out. I always kept a loaded gun in the desk. I took it out of the drawer and in my hand. Here was my punishment. This time I couldn't fail. I placed the gun against my chest and pulled the trigger. I fell by the desk and lay there, where I am now, staining the carpet with my blood. I was dying, and I was glad of it. And then I remembered the plane reservation to Rochester. I could tell the police when they came, and they could check that, and they would know that I was guilty. But they came too late. They bent over me. I tried to tell them. I
tried. I tried.
Riley, he's trying to say something.
Yeah, poor guy. He's too far gone to talk.
Now I'm lying here on the carpet, waiting to die, with my guilt locked up inside me. I can see a new figure among the police. A man in civilian dress with a small black bag in his hand.
How long is it since this man was discovered in this condition, officer?
About half an hour, Doc.
He's in very bad shape.
Will he live, Doc? Will he recover?
Oh, yes. He may recover, but only partially.
Partially? How do you mean, Doc?
Notice his inability to move so much as a finger. Notice how only his lips move, trying to form words without being able to speak. The bullet must have injured his spinal cord. This man is paralyzed. Totally paralyzed.
So now I know. I'm paralyzed. I'm not going to die. And yet I can see the policemen moving carefully about the room. And I hear them speaking softly as one speaks in the presence of the dead. So I've failed again. For the last time. Because I know my fate now. To live in this living death. Alone with my guilt. Forever. That is my punishment.
Poor old John Keeler. Who would have thought his spinal cord could have tied him up in knots? Not so nice for John, He started out as a Keeler, tried to be a Keeler dealer, but got all wound up.
Mr. Host, let's forget about that awful story, because there's something really important I'd like to talk about. The makers of Lipton tea and Lipton soup want me to remind all you folks of a debt that must be paid to our servicemen. A debt that can be paid in part by buying and continuing to buy victory bonds. You know, I think the best reason for buying bonds was given many, many years ago by one of the great statesmen of all time, by Abraham Lincoln, when he said, "Let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations." Yes, folks, that's just what we're helping to do when we invest in victory bonds. So keep on buying all that you can, won't you?
And now, friends, for those of you who like morals with your drama, here's one for tonight. Never mix your partner's business with your pleasure. For if you do, he may consider it a pleasure to give you the business. By the way, this month's Inner Sanctum mystery novel is Devil in the Bush by Matthew Head. Yes, and next week's Inner Sanctum story, directed by Hyman Brown and brought to you by Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup. Next week's story is about a genius, a photographer who believes that death can be beautiful. So he only takes pictures of people who are in the throes of dying. It's enough to make your camera shudder. And naturally, he has to arrange his models, arrange to have them die. So next Tuesday, bring along the kiddies, and we'll make it a nice family picture. And now it's time to close the squeaking door. So, good night. Pleasant dreams.
Folks, cold weather and hot soup just seem to go together. And Lipton's noodle soup is the soup of the season. Yes, Lipton's is blessed with a fine chickeny flavor, and it has real fresh cooked goodness. It it tastes just like the chicken noodle soup you'd make right in your own kitchen. The only difference is that Lipton's takes almost no time at all to prepare. So if your family likes chickeny-tasting soup that's brimming with tender golden egg noodles, then don't forget to ask for Lipton's Noodle Soup. Yes, friends, and don't forget to tune in next week for another Inner Sanctum mystery.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Radio Gold is a 3 Nines Fine radio production. See you next time.